dalam kelas. Okay. Right. First of all, there are several classes of nutrients. It can be classified as macro and also as micro nutrients. Yeah? The micronutrients are proteins, lipid, and also carbohydrate. Yeah, and then the micro, you are talking about vitamins, minerals. Yeah, micro are the nutrients that are required in a very small amount, yeah, compared to the major or the macronutrients such as protein, lipid, and carbohydrate. Yeah. All right. Protein, lipids, and then the minerals and water, they are typically used for the structure materials in the cells, in the animal cells. Ada orang nak masuk ke dalam kelas tu? Tak ada ya?
Tak ada, tak ada.
Okay. So, ada bunyi itu. And carbohydrates, lipid and protein are oxidized to provide energy. And ada lagi. Hafizul. And trace minerals and vitamins, they have separate function. Normally, they work as the essential components for coenzyme in a biochemical system. Yeah, so it's slightly different in your function. Yeah, in aquaculture or even in animals, when we provide the energy, we try not to use the energy from the protein because we want as much protein as we can to be converted into the body cells, yeah, for the growth rather than for the energy. Okay, proteins are important component in the animal tissue. For fish, for example, or even for animals, yeah, about 16 to 25% of the body weight, yeah, are made of apa ni protein, yeah. All cells can synthesize protein in their life cycle. We are talking about not only animals but also for plants. They can synthesize protein. And protein must be included in the diet of animals to allow normal growth. This is very important. Yeah, without sufficient protein, the fish will not be able to exhibit their maximal growth. Yeah, or to interpret their maximal growth. So you need to have provide them with protein, especially at the very optimal level. Some animal can synthesize protein and from non-protein nitrogen. Yeah, but this is with the help of microflora in the intestine. Yeah, we are talking about animals like goats and the ruminants. They are able to produce protein from the non-protein nitrogen with the help of microflora or the bacteria in their intestine. And protein is a major concern in aquaculture or any aquafeed because it contribute the most expensive part, yeah, or it is the most expensive component in an aquafeed. Yeah. That's why if we can reduce or optimize the protein, it means that we can reduce substantially the price of an aquafeed. That's why scientists have what they call it, who work so hard so that they can reduce they can lower the protein requirement of the fish, so that they can lower the price of the aquafeed. Unfortunately, nowadays the price of animal feed, including fish feed, has increased so much here. Recently, UPM pun buat press conference on the problem of the how to solve the problem of rising feed costs. Right, what are proteins? Proteins are polymers of amino acid. Yeah, they are linked together. All these amino acids are bound together with peptide bonds. I will discuss about this a little bit later. And protein contains about 50% carbon, 22% oxygen, 7% hydrogen, and 16% nitrogen. If I mentioned it last week, yeah, in the lab, that all protein contain about 16% nitrogen. And when you analyze protein, you analyze the nitrogen and then you times it by 6.25. Don't ever forget that, 6.25, the magic number to convert protein, to convert nitrogen to protein. And protein is essential ingredient in the aqua feed and also most of the animal feed. And because they represent the source of amino acid, yeah. And amino acid are very vital, and you can group them as essential and also non-essential protein. Okay, what are amino acid? As amino acid are composed of amino group. Yeah, this is the amino group, and carboxyl group, or the acid group. Amino is the base group, yeah, while carboxyl group are the acid, yeah, and then we have the side change, the R. Right? If you have taken chemistry before, you know what is R is, yeah. And it can be displayed. It can display reaction which are either in acidic or basic form. So they have both, so they can display this function when it's needed. Yeah? Okay, in general, there are about 20, some say 20, some say 21, some say 24, 20 to 24 amino acids that are found in protein. Some proteins are devoid of some AAs, means that not all protein contain all the 20 or 24 amino acids. Yeah. So basically, yes, they might not contain all the amino acids. It's about, but in overall, it's about 20. Yeah. Physiologically, amino acid can be classified as essential. The essential amino acids are the one that the body is not able to synthesize. Yeah. And these are needed in the diet and required by the body, by the animals. It's required by animal, and they cannot be produced in the body. So these are the essential amino acids. Yeah? While the non-essential ones are the one that the body is able to make. They can synthesize it from other amino acid. Yeah? So the essential and non-essential. What are the essential amino acid? There are 10. Okay, you're talking about arginine, histidine, isoleucine, leucine, lysine, methionine, uh, phenylalanine, threonine, tryptophan, and valine. As an aquaculture student or fish nutrition student, we should be able to memorize these 10 essential amino acid. of John Halver has never failed to ask this question in his test. Yeah? Similarly, that I also always ask student what are the essential amino acid, list out the essential amino acid. Mungkin keluar dalam test. And Prof. Halver always use this private team hall. He give us a tip to easily remember what are the essential amino acid. Phenylalanine, valine, threonine, tryptophan, isoleucine, methionine, histidine, arginine, leucine, and lysine. All right. So if you remember private team hall, it's easier for you to memorize all the essential amino acids. Yeah. So I expect you to also remember what or memorize what are the 10 essential amino acids. Yeah. I've never asked about the non-essential because this is very important and must be in the fish diet. The non-essentials are the alanine, uh, aspartic acid, glutamic acid, lysine, hydroxychloroquine, cysteine, tyrosine, ornithine, proline, serine, and taurine. Yeah, these are some of the amino acids. Yeah, and some of these non-essentials they are sometimes important in the fish feed as attractant. Yeah? Attractant means that they are put in the diet so that the fish or the crustacean will be attracted to the feed. Yeah? Taurine are mostly used, and also glutamic acid. Yeah? Commonly used as an attractant in a fish feed. Yeah. All right. Any question there? You need to memorize this, but not this. Huh?
Prof, I have a question. Is there a sequence in which is more important, or are they all important?
The the requirement for amino acid varies with species. Yeah. Uh, so it's hard to say that, but all the 10s are required, but the amount required varies with species. Yeah. I will show you a bit later. But there is no sequence of the importance of these 10 essential amino acid. They all must be there in the diet, but at the same time, the amount of each amino acid is different. So the minimum amount must be met. Yeah, dia terlebih tak apa, but you cannot have it less than a certain amount. So if let's say that you have a very good protein, very high protein diet, but let's say they miss, let's say division in methionine, for example, then you have a problem. The maximum, what do you call it, the maximum growth will not be happening, yeah, until that requirement is met, yeah. Did I answer your question?
Yes, Prof. Thank you.
Okay, great. Uh, if you see that methionine and phenylalanine are colored blue, something like blue, it is because cysteine, for example, there is a sparing effect. Yeah, cysteine can replace about 50%, up to 50% of methionine requirement. So if we have more cysteine, this cysteine can be used to cover the deficiency in methionine. Similarly, for phenylalanine, tyrosine can cover the requirement of phenylalanine up to 50%. Yeah. So these are the sparing effect of the, what do you call it, the methionine and also the cysteine and also tyrosine. So you don't, if you don't have enough methionine in your diet, if there is enough cysteine can supply about the 50% of the requirement. Yeah. But if methionine is too low, then cysteine might not be able to cover all, right? Because they can only supplement. It's about 50% of the requirement. All right. These are the classification of amino acid. You can see that some are aliphatic. These are the aliphatic, if you can see. The solid is the non-essential. The dotted are essential. The broken lines, the broken circles are the essential. Yeah. The aromatic, the green one are the aromatic. You're talking about tyrosine, tryptophan, phenylalanine. And then we have the acidic. This is acidic. I have problem with colors sometimes. The aspartic and glutamic are considered acidic, and then we have the basic arginine and histidine, and also lysines there. And then the pink is the hydroxylic, and then we have the sulfur as cysteine and methionine. That's what cysteine can replace methionine. Yeah, so about 50%. And then we have amidic, and yeah, the asparagine and also glutamine. These are the amidic. Yeah. So it's good if you can have this table. Yeah.
Prof,
Right. Yeah.
sorry, I have a question. What does aliphatic and amidic means?
You can always Google that. Yeah. I don't have the answer. Aromatic, I know. Aromatic dia ada smell. Ya. Aliphatic ni saya dah lupa. Acidic memang dia acidic lah. Basic dia basic. Ya. Hydroxy ni dia ada oksigen dengan hidrogen. Ya. Dia lebih sikit. And sulfur because they have sulfur. Amidic ni pun saya dah lupa dah.
Okay, Prof.
Apa, nanti saya mungkin tanya dalam exam. Ya.
Okay. Thank you, Prof.
Nah, ini bezanya aliphatic dengan tidak kan, because yang H ni, kalau H ni dikira aliphatic, hydroxylate, apa ni, aromatic dia ada apa ni, this group ya, dia become aromatic. Dia sulfur because ada sulfur dalam dia. Saya dah lupa dah, dia ada juga ditunjukkan di sini. Cyclic, hydroxylic ni sebenarnya XY. Dia ada grup yang ammonia yang sebegini ya. Dalam grup dia, selain daripada ammonia and nitrogen, this they also have additional nitrogen here. Alright. And then acidic, COO, this is part, the acidic part, dia ada extra. And basic, dia banyak base ya. Nitrogen ada lagi extra di sini. Alright. Di function dia ada masing-masing, tapi tak, yang penting is essential and non-essential. And most of the amino acids are naturally occurring in L configuration. The synthetic one in D form. Yeah? L form are more biologically active. So kalau if you want to supplement the diet with, let's say if there is some deficiency of methionine, you need to add methionine in your diet. Make sure that you use the L form, yeah, rather than this D form, the synthetic one. All right. All right. Despite the fact that the non-essential amino acid is not required, is not critical in the feed, the non-essential form perform many essential functions, yeah, at cellular and also metabolic function. So tak semestinya when we supply we need to be 100% the essential, but the non-essential are also required there, but the amount tu tak perlu cukup ke tak cukup. Non-essential amino acid physiologically essential to ensure that the body has adequate supply by synthesis, but they can synthesize. Kalau tak cukup tak apa, dia boleh produce sendiri. But they perform many essential functions. Cysteine and tyrosine are synthesized within the body. Satu lagi dia, remember that kalau kurang cysteine dia methionine lebih, the methionine can be converted into cysteine. Similarly, phenylalanine can be converted into tyrosine, but not the other way. But tyrosine and cysteine can help to cover the deficiency of 50% of the deficiency of methionine and also phenylalanine. And basically kalau katakan the methionine and phenylalanine is not enough in the diet, the synthesis of non-essential amino acid may also be impaired. Ada disrupted sikit di situ. Alright, protein elongation. I've talked about the protein of the amino acid. And amino acid are bound together into protein by the peptide bonds. And these are the primary structure of amino sequence. Kalau tengok, if you do genetic studies, the arrangement of the amino acids are very important for the identification of certain species. So genetic play important role. The arrangement will be different. And from there they become the ribbon types, the secondary structure, and then more complicated tertiary structures, and also the quaternary structures. The protein will be macam ni lah juga, sama dengan ni. Alright, what are the peptide bonds? This is the peptide bonds. One good thing about amino acid is that they are soluble in water. So kalau katakan the protein has been digested into amino acid, is a lot easier to be absorbed by the at the intestine by the fish. So when amino acid are bound together, the H2O will be removed from the amino acid. So it becomes a protein, a small protein here, and the water will be excluded. Correct? So the peptide bond is this here. There's the nitrogen at the nitrogen side. The peptide plus extra CO2 here. So this OH is being removed, and then it becomes a bond there. All right. There are when two amino acid combines together, they are called dipeptides. Kalau if 3 tripeptides, 4 to 10 they call it oligopeptides. More than 10 they are called polypeptides. And then biasanya protein will be digested by pepsin. Nanti saya cerita kemudian into polypeptides. And then polypeptides, barulah another enzyme took over and potong all this bound to become separate or individual amino acids. And from there, it can be absorbed into the body. And large peptides are called protein molecules. So kalau tengok tadi samalah dia sini dah jadi macam protein. Ni contoh ialah hemoglobin. Hemoglobin are made of protein, ada lagi apa, iron and so on. Yeah. Beside protein molecules, there are also protease, protease. Yeah. Dia a part of amino acid. Dia ada foreign component loosely bound into it. Yeah. For example, ada lipid, they become lipoprotein. Yeah. So this kalau protein is just this, yeah, all amino acids. You are talking about phosphoprotein, albumin, globulin, myosin, fibrinogen, keratin, and collagen. Collagen is a protein that is normally used untuk apa ni?
Replacing new, maybe creating new tissue?
Tak juga, dia biasanya orang guna untuk apa?
Produk kecantikan.
Bibir, biar bibir lebih tebal. And sometimes they put at the dagu, at the chin, so that the chin will become sharper. Jadi muka tu bujur. Kadang-kadang kat pipi. Yeah? So basically a lot of people, athletes, they use that collagen injection to shape their lips, their chin, and their cheek. Yeah? Masalahnya what? After a while, the collagen will be absorbed. So after a few months, you have to kena pergi lagi inject lagi, and you shape your dagu and so on. Yeah. And remember, at one time people are selling seaweed as marine collagen. Yeah. Seaweed tak ada protein, they are all carbohydrate. Yeah. So kalau somebody sell itu kena betulkan lah. If they sell seaweed as a collagen, marine collagen, maknanya dia menipu di situ. So jangan tertipu. The albumin and so on dengan globulin ni dia soluble. Kalau tengok yang ni dia tak insure. Dia keratin and also collagen ni. That's why dia pasang di bibir, tapi after a while dia dissolve juga. Dia deteriorate di bibir, jadi you kena keep on inject. Saya tak perlu sebab bibir saya dah tebal lah. Kalau saya tebal lagi jadi macam apa pula. Sekarang ni tak boleh sebut yang bukan lah. Nanti kalau ada student record nanti viral pula kan. So kena jaga-jaga jugalah zaman ni. Right. Actually kita ni kita tak, kalau kelas ni sebenarnya it belongs to, copyright dia belongs to the university dalam kelas ni bila saya ni. So kalau katakan somebody record and then they call it viral kan ke apa, sebenarnya dia melanggar apa ni, dari segi copyright tu dia melanggar. Ada satu profesor UKM ni quite upset and say that the university to sue the student yang viralkan video siapa, Profesor apa tu, Profesor Kak Long lah yang kata. Ada tengok video tu?
Ada, Prof.
Ada pensyarah kita yang macam tu no? Di jabatan?
Tak ada, rasanya tak ada.
Dr. Muhtar pun tak macam tu kan?
Tak.
Alright. Dia macam Dr. Muhtar tu, dia hati dia sangat baik ya. Because kadang-kadang kita bila mengajar ni, kita nak student kita tahu, tidak lalai dan sebagainya. We want to have the best for the student. Alright. Kalau zaman dulu lagi teruk masa saya student dulu, kadang-kadang apa ni, cikgu tumbuk pelajar pun ada juga. So lagi more apa ni, kata physical. Nasib baik masa zaman tu tak ada lagi handphone and so on, no YouTube ke Instagram untuk publicize. Kalau tidak cikgu tu dah habis, dah kena buang kerja semua masing-masing. Alright, proteins ada lipoproteins, dia campur dengan lipid. Kalau nucleoprotein, dia campur dengan nucleic acid. Chromoprotein dia campur, ni untuk dye, dia jadi dye, dia campur dengan dye, dia jadi chromoprotein, so color sikit lah. And then certain enzyme dia campur dengan enzyme. That's what enzymes are also made of, amino acid, ya. Dia protein, is a kind of protein. Okay, itu dari segi yang kalau dia campur lain dia jadi ini. Lipoprotein dicampur dengan lipid. Ini penting juga untuk body. Alright. What are the physiological functions of protein? As I mentioned tadi, katakan badan tu, ikan tu kadang-kadang around 16%. Some fish dia ada lebih sikit daripada 16%. So our fish body normally ada 75% water, protein, lipid, and also ash. Yeah? This is a typical. Kalau you buat ada lain sikit tu, then is something. Yeah? And even our body contains 75% water. So katakan kalau orang tu badan besar sikit, biasanya still 75% water. Yeah? Oh tadi bila saya sebut, ingat tak tadi? Sekejap saya pasal makro tadi saya lupa something. Forgot to mention tadi, air, ya? Ikan juga perlu water as part of the nutrient. Ini Allah pun cakap dalam Quran banyak kali, ya. All living things require water. So, tapi dia mudah lah because the fish live in the water, so they can easily get water. Ya. So kalau terrestrial animal, dia kena carilah juga air untuk hidup. Kalau without water, they won't survive. Kat mana pula tadi? Tertinggal lah. Alright. And protein makes up about 65 to 75% protein of the dry weight. Yeah. That's what kalau fish meal biasanya, kalau yang the poor quality contain about 50% protein. The good, the premium quality one contain about 65% protein. Some sampai 72, ada yang 75. So kalau nak beli fish meal, kena tengok dari segi protein content dia. Okay, some example of importance of protein at cellular level. Sekejap dah makin panas, saya kena onkan aircon. Okay. Protein are essential component of cells nucleus. So chromosome dalam nucleus kan. So chromosome mesti made of protein and DNA. Yeah, DNA also protein. And then all enzymes in our body contain, or fish body also contain a lot of enzymes. And some enzyme function as for digestion purposes. Some enzymes macam-macam ada enzim tu digunakan untuk perlu produce protein, some produce fatty acid and so on. So different type of enzymes. Yeah? And for example, glucose with certain enzyme can be converted into carbon dioxide, hydrogen, and also energy. That's what glucose sometimes normally used in human and also not much in fish to convert it into energy. But fish can convert also glucose for energy. Yeah. And then they also have some biological membranes such as plasma membranes are also make out of 30% to 60% protein. So these are also made of protein. So banyak ya keperluan protein. These are contoh apa ni? If you are talking about eukaryote and also prokaryote, they are also required banyak protein di situ. The cell membrane, ada lagi apa nucleus dia, so banyak apa ni keperluan protein ya. Dan kalau tengok dari segi mana ada transcription of RNA semua ni dengan ni, sudahnya dia banyak kepada jadi ribosome, polypeptide, dan dia juga translate dengan jadi active protein and so on. So banyak dari segi apa ni, a lot of things happen in the body by protein. So without protein susahnya. Ini transcription daripada DNA ya, dia akan beritahu sebab tu dalam body kita ni apa protein yang diperlukan, apa yang ni aktif dan tidak ya. Sometimes itulah kadang-kadang kita ada recessive apa ni genes ya. Masa saya kecil dulu rambut saya lurus. Bila menjelang umur 17 tahun, 18 tahun tu rambut saya jadi keriting halus and but after dah umur 20 lebih dia jadi kurang keriting, jadi keli sikit-sikit je. So nasib baiklah, kalau tidak dia keriting lagi halus. Dia tak pernah tengok masa saya one time saya pernah jadi keriting betul rambut saya afro. So kalau sebab tu saya maintain rambut tak berapa panjang sekarang. So because the protein sometimes dia tukar juga DNA ni, dia ada certain dia simpan, kadang-kadang dia jadi apa ni dominant, kadang-kadang dia simpan recessive balik dan sebagainya. So Allah punya kuasa ni kita susah nak tentukan ya. Alright, at microscopic level, the importance of protein, yang ni penting ya, because formation and maintenance of muscles, skin and also bone, because bone contain one third of the bones are made of protein. Sebab tu makan apa? Sup gearbox tu orang makan sedut tengah-tengah dia tu kan? Banyak tinggi protein di situ Alright. And then we have hormones. Hormone are also made of protein. Banyak hormon ni apa? GH, apa lagi? Insulin are also hormones ya. Insulin penting untuk jaga apa? Blood, control blood dalam badan kita. Antibodies are also important. They are also protein and very important for immune system. For example, kita sekarang ni kena ambil apa ni? Jab dan sebagainya. Ada yang tak ada ambil jab ke? COVID jabs? Harap-harap tak adalah sebab kadang-kadang kita ada ramai juga kawan-kawan saya yang anti-vax ni dia tak nak ambil. Tapi dia nak pergi juga tempat-tempat awam ni kan, jadi kadang-kadang kalau dia bawa, dia menyusahkan orang pula kan. Alright, then we have carrier proteins such as myoglobin. Dalam hemoglobin, tugas dia untuk carry the oxygen, so they become carrier. Jadi macam apa ni? Macam yalah, Citylink, jadi apa ni? Lazada apa? Grab dan sebagainya. It's a Grab untuk bawa oksigen. Okay, ni saya kata tadi tak protein tentang ada karbonnya, hidrogen, nitrogen and so on. Ni kalau tengok insulin, dia function dia banyak di sini. Dia boleh juga convert apa ni protein menjadi fatty acid, banyak ni dia banyak jadi glycogen. Glycogen is disimpan part protein part tu dia simpan as energy dalam liver, and then dia release boleh jadi glucose balik. So banyak function insulin juga. Right, myoglobin. Ini tak payahlah ingat ribbon-ribbon ya. Biasanya saya tak tanya soalan-soalan yang ni. Alright. Apa functionnya dalam ikan? We talk about protein banyak tadi. Apa functionnya dalam ikan? We are talking about first is the function as a source of essential amino acid. Very important, source of essential. Yang ni biasanya kalau ada soalan point 1 sampai 5, 1, 4, ada 4 points, 10 points, whatever, biasanya kalau dalam soalan saya tanya 5, apa ke function? Kalau macam ni biasanya suka saya tanya. Right, what are the function? First is essential of amino acids, and then as a component of muscle, skins, and cell membrane. They are all made of proteins. As a component of enzyme, antibodies, hormones, blood serum protein. Kalau kalau katakan you jawab you miss antibody and blood serum, saya bagi 1 point lah instead of full 2 points. Tissue repair and growth. Satu lagi ada nombor 6 ada juga ya. Apa dia? For breeding, saya tak sebut di sini breeding. So kalau we have extra protein, boleh digunakan untuk breeding. So that's what broodstock, they require higher protein. Protein requirement dia as high as sometimes as the requirement of the larvae. Protein ni keperluan ni changes from larvae is very high and then turun. And then for broodstock dia naik balik sampai dekat peringkat awal tu tadi. So satu lagi nombor 6 ni ada. Yang ditambah sendiri nombor 6 for breeding purposes. But importance is normally for this and also for tissue repair and growth. So if we have lebih, maka dia grow for growth. So kalau tengok tilapia apa berlaku? Sometimes dia ada what do you call it? Priority dia salah. Especially for the female tilapia, kalau ada jantan apa? Dia priority dia kepada breeding. Itu yang kadang-kadang dalam tilapia tu satu kolam, kalau if you don't really take care of it, you can find ikan yang asal kena ada anak dia dan ada cucu dia dalam satu kolam. So in aquaculture we try to avoid the breeding of this fish at a very young stage. Oh ada ni nombor 6 ni breeding, sorry. Dah keluar tadi breeding. And then protein can also be used for energy. So as far as possible kita try to refrain the protein yang expensive, the expensive protein to be converted into energy. So kalau boleh kita nak just growth, so that the fish will grow fast and meet the market size cepat sikit. Alright, as a source of skeleton carbon skeleton of amino acid to make other molecules like glucose. So the carbon source ini penting. And 9, to utilize the amino group in non-protein compounds such as purine, ini utilize juga. Protein itu digunakan untuk utilize this amino group. Right. So there are 9 points there. So biasanya saya tanya 5 saja. Alright. Tadi RNA dengan DNA pun patutnya ni tadi components ni utilize amino group as purine ini, RNA dan DNA ni very important ya. Alright. Banyak dalam purine apa dia, pyrimidines ada dia ada banyaklah, nak hafal semua ni memang saya tak galakkan lah you all hafal ni. Dan saya tak tanyalah biasanya. But you just need to know macam mana dari base dia boleh jadi bahan-bahan ya. Okay. We need also to know the requirements the protein requirements among the fish varies with species, yeah, and also age. Yeah. Nanti saya sini biasa age. For species, for example, if you are talking about tilapia, it depends on also the species, yeah, different fish, different requirement dia. Because tilapia pun ada banyak spesies, ya, Mozambica, Nilotica, ada Melano apa ni, yang biasa yang quite famous, Nilotica and Mozambicus, ya. And then we have also the hybrids like the red tilapia. Red tilapia also has different breeds, ya. So the requirement is about 30 to 40%, 28 to 40%. Dia mana 40 ni dia apa? Dia pada peringkat dia kecil, dia tinggi sikit lah compare dengan peringkat dia besar. Baung, Asian red tail, requirement dia kalau larva is about 55, and then dia turun about grow out is about 42%. So baung has a very high protein requirement compared to channel catfish atau other walking catfish. Ikan keli from 40 to 30 saja. So grow out is about 30% protein dalam feed dia. Silver barb is what is silver barb? Melayunya. Anyone know? Tak ada. Dia dah putus. You all masih ada lagi ke tak kalau putus?
Ada.
Okay.
Ada, Prof.
Ada one time tu sampai half an hour saya bagi lecture. Barulah ada student message line off. Kena ulang balik. Alright. Silver barb apa dia? Lambam Jawa, ya. Masir kelah, ya. Ini hybrid lemon fin barb adalah kerai lampam, ya. Silver barb dia dalam 50% pada peringkat larvae, dan pada peringkat grow out is about 30%. Masir tinggi, yang ni masir pada peringkat grow out dia 40%. Masir and then we have also recently buat untuk ikan lampam sungai. Lampam sungai is very high. The tinfoil lampam sungai apa English dia? Tinfoil barb, ya. Dan baru ni ada satu pelajar master saya, orang Melayu, bila dia kena buat abstract, bila thesis abstract tu ada English ada Malay, dia punya malasnya tu dia gunakan Google untuk translate English dia, English abstract dia. So Google translate the fish tinfoil barb tu sebagai barb kertas timah. Ya. So jangan buat macam itulah. Melayunya adalah lambam sungai, ya. So jangan gunakan Google lah kalau translate nama-nama ikan ni. Macam ni lemon fin barb, nama dia apa? Kerai kunyit, Jangan pula kita tukar barb sirip lemon. So tak boleh macam tu, So yang ni kerai lampam. Hybrid dia rendah sikit 30%. Dia sama dengan mak dia. Kerai lampam ni bapa kerai kunyit, maknya lampam sungai. So dia punya requirement dia sama dengan mak dia, tapi rasa dia sama dengan bapa dia. So sedap. So itu dari segi genetik, So if you look memang beza. Udang galah pun lain lagi dia punya keperluan, ya. Alright, ini ada yang ikan-ikan lain lah. Ya, kalau ikan rainbow trout, apa lagi yang biasa jumpa ni apa? Mugfish ni pernah jumpa? Banyak orang Indonesia suka makan ni. Orang Filipin pun dipanggil ikan ini adalah ikan ikan national fish dia. Ya. Di Filipin dipanggil ikan ini bangos. Di Sulawesi dipanggil namanya ikan ni bolu. Ikan bolu, B-O-L-U. Di Indonesia panggil bandeng. Ya. Tapi di Malaysia orang panggil ikan susu. Which is wrong. Kita ada bahasa Melayu yang lain, yang maksudnya asas bahasa Melayu adalah kalau tak ada dalam kataan tu di Melaya, kita kenalah cari yang dekat-dekat tu Nusantara. So kita ada ikan bandeng dari Indonesia, Jawa mungkin. Bolu is from Bugis, and then bangos. So patutnya ambil daripada salah satu daripada itu menjadikan bahasa Melayu dia lah, bukan ikan susu. Ini ikan channel catfish ni, ikan di US, udang kita dapat kurma giant prawn ni. Ini udang harimau. Kita tengok keperluan dia daripada 14 sampai 40, 30 di situ. Udang galah ada sini, 40%. Ya. Dulu kita banyak buat udang galah. Saya pun banyak buat udang galah punya larva feed pada peringkat awal. Alright. The protein requirements also varies with feeding types. In general, the carnivore fish, apa jadi? Carnivorous fish requires very high, 40 to 60% protein. Yeah? Very high. Omnivorous, biasanya in between, 25 to 35. And in some cases ada 40, macam ikan masir, dia 40. Lampam sungai juga tinggi keperluan dia. Tinggi dari this range. And for herbivorous, generally around 20 to 30%. I just forgot to mention to you that lampam sungai and lampam Jawa, they can survive at lower 20% protein level. They can survive, tak mati, but their growth is very, very poor. Yeah. So in aquaculture, you need to, kalau boleh, maximize the growth, supaya cepat dia besar. You boleh jual, maknanya risiko menunggu lama tu is shorter. Tak ada. Alright, that's feeding types. This in general. Size or age, senanglah age atau size ataupun stage. Kalau tengok for example this tiger shrimp ni, requirement dia very high at larval stages, 50 to 55, and then post larvae dia turun sikit, post larvae turun sikit, when juvenile dah turun 38, and more than 10% is only 35% protein. So the protein requirements in percentage also reduces as shrimp or fish grow. This is for tilapia, same thing. If it is less than 1 gram, the requirement is about 50 or 40%, and then 1 to 5 gram, they turun sikit, 25 to 25 grams, another drop, and then maknanya from 35 to 25, and then for more than 20 gram, it's about 25%. In normal kita bagi around 30%. But in pond condition, kita boleh bagi kurang. Alright, salinity. In general, marine fish requires higher protein requirement. Kalau tengok for rainbow trout, for example, kalau tengok at 20 paya or 20 degrees, 20 ppt salinity, they're talking about the requirements about 45%. In freshwater, it's about 40%. It's slightly lower. So make sure that kalau you grow the fish in marine water, you kena naik sikit, because right now di Malaysia ada ikan yang boleh di air tawar. Freshwater, siakap for example, can be grown in both freshwater and also marine water, and of course brackish water. So the protein requirement will fluctuate, yeah, and also the lipid requirement. All right. Then the availability of natural food. So is according to the system. That's why when we culture the fish in ponds, we can lower down the protein requirements there. But if you are rearing the fish in lakes or cages, then the protein requirement, the protein for that fish must be slightly higher, about 5 to 10% higher. Yeah, so it depends on system. You have to change because if there are a lot of natural foods, it means that the fish can eat the natural food and then boleh supplement the protein requirement. Yeah, they can get some of the protein requirement from the natural food. So that's why you can slightly reduce the protein requirement in the diet. So in that case, you save kan duit 5% turun pun the very significant in the term of the price. Yeah? That's why sometimes in the aquaculture industry, people use lower protein requirement. So, but lower kadang-kadang what happens that the growth is impact. Tak apa laju. Others, you're talking about non-protein energy ratio, because if we have the right ratio for lipid and carbohydrate, we can spare the protein so that the protein boleh kita turunkan sikit and spare that protein for growth. We use lipid and carbohydrate for energy. Maturation stage, as I mentioned tadi, ada kan, bila during the broodstock or broodstock stages, then you have to put a higher protein for the egg production. Yeah? For broodstock, we make sure that you give them the broodstock diet contain enough vitamins, enough something fatty acid, ada certain fatty acid, amino acids semua lengkap, protein slightly higher, so that they can produce quality eggs. And so that the hatch larvae nanti tak ada cacat dan sebagainya. Of late banyak cases yang ikan cacat, larvanya cacat because maturation diet tu tak kena salah. Amino acid profile of the diet ini juga penting. Sekiranya in the maknanya sekiranya essential amino acid tu dah cukup, mana keperluan protein tu boleh dikurangkan as long as the minimum requirement of the amino acid, essential amino acid are met, then protein tu tak ni. But in some cases, because amino acid requirement dia tak met, essential amino tu dia terpaksa increasekan sikit protein, so cost lagi lah sikit. So ada when we formulate a diet, sometimes tak boleh meet tu kita naikkan sikit, upkan sikit protein, but rugilah sebab mahal protein. And last is feeding ration. Kalau you bagi crab, the protein requirement boleh turun sikit. Kalau tak bagi crab sehari sekali, dan you kena bagi pada optimal level. So there are 9 points why the requirement of fish are slightly varies with the species and so on. So biasanya ni kalau ada 9 point pun biasanya tanya dalam test atau final, maknanya give why protein can varies. Why protein varies? Because of 5 different, bagi 5. So you are talking about species and then you have to elaborate. Jangan tak elaborate. Kalau you tak elaborate, you dapat 1 point. Kalau you elaborate, you got 2 points. Full mark. Okay. How do you determine the protein requirements? You need research. And At the same time, we try to find the minimum requirement or the optimal requirement to research. So banyak kita research yang of late banyak I did for local carps and local fish. Otherwise, we cannot rely on tilapia, apa lagi, African catfish. A lot of work has been done on that internationally. But for our local species, not many people has done it. So, and also not only for the local, but also for regional species. Yeah. For example, masir, tengadak, and so on. So there are a lot of local species tak dibuat lagi. So how are we going to expand the aquaculture of local species kalau kita tak buat? Inilah jadinya. Kita punya ikan tu boleh jadi pupus. Alright, these are the things yang buat. Dia bagi makan, jarang orang start pada zero. Saya kalau buat pun saya start daripada 20. And the most is 60. Tak boleh lebih daripada itu sebab most of the protein requirement tak cukup. So dia akan buat ni, dia plot and then dia cari mana yang optimal. Dia akan taruh di situ, dia akan ni panggil ni lama punya tahun 72. So ada yang baru kita pakai polynomial analysis. Kita boleh tengok kat mana dia optimal dan di situlah kita gunakan. Next time probably saya boleh guna data ikan tempatan. Kita ada banyak je. Right, similar juga. Saya lebih suka pilih yang optimal growth. Tapi ada orang juga dia potong kat sini, dia cari dari segi economical growth. So dia run bagi makan ikan 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%, 60%. And then look at the growth. From there, you can determine the mana dia punya growth. Okay, tadi you all ada tanya tentang apa protein essential amino acid requirements. Apart from the protein level, we also need to know the essential amino acid requirement. These are basically general for fish, but again, as I mentioned to you, that the requirements also varies with species. Contohnya lah, why kita kata essential and non essential tadi. Look at this, the test with glutamate deficiency. Ni glutamate non-essential. Tengok size dia dengan yang dapat glutamate dengan tak dapat glutamate, tak ada beza. Amino acid essential, arginine division, kalau tak ada arginine apa jadi? You can see that the growth is impaired or suppressed. Leucine also sama, dia lebih kecil, dia tak besar kalau dia ada kekurangan. So ikan kecil lah, banyak beza. Can see about 50%. Alright. Dan biasanya jarang saya buat kajian amino acid requirement ni because it takes time. It's not that easy because you have to formulate a diet yang deficient in certain amino acid. Satu-satu nak buat. Alright. Yang ni bila you're talking about bila deficient, you can see that the growth turun. Yang ni division yang non-essential, growth dia okay je. Alright. Some of the symptom of deficiency in some of the essential amino acid, for example tryptophan, you can see dia cacat, dia berlaku ni sclerosis. Nanti kita ada bincang lagi tentang penyakit-penyakit. Tryptophan tak ada, dia jadi deform. Amino acid requirement saya ada tak listkan, patut ada certain ikan tu dia ada list. Okay, what happened to the protein after it's consumed by the fish? Of course, it has to be digested and into amino acids, and then the amino acid will be absorbed and metabolized. And usually protein itu dia akan break pada peptide bonds by protease. Protease biasanya break the peptide bond, then this occurs in the stomach and intestine. So the protein will break down and become free amino acid, the monomer. Okay, these are the enzymes that are involved. Pepsin are secreted by the stomach. They will cut the protein at the peptide, certain peptide, and it turn into small polypeptides. Peptide bond tadi jadi small polypeptide ni. And in the intestine, then you are talking about there are several others amino acid, the trypsin, mostly trypsin, chymotrypsin. Others are elastase, carboxypeptidase, aminopeptidase. So they will further cut the peptide bonds into smaller one, and it becomes free amino acid here. And this free amino acid are absorbed directly into the blood vessel, and it goes to the brain, the heart, the muscle, etc. So that's the digestion and also absorption. So you have to remember, biasanya orang tanya what are the most important is pepsin. In crustacean, they do not have pepsin, but they produce enzyme called lower molecular weight protease, LMWP. Dia tak ada pepsin in crustacean. So because the protein must be cut into polypeptides first before is further digested into amino acid, free amino acid. So you need to know what are pepsin. That's what for fish larvae sometimes at the young stages, at the very early larval stages, they do not have stomach. So when they do not have stomach, they do not have a pepsin to cut the protein into polypeptides. That's why in some fish that do not have a functional stomach, so they have to rely on live food like rotifer, moina, and so on to survive, because they need the enzyme from those animals to digest, to break the protein into polypeptides. But then they have this chymotrypsin and trypsin. They have that in their gut, but they do not have this. So that's why they need the live food sometimes, di peringkat awal, because live food contain enzymes. All right, the amino acid metabolism, amino acid can be converted into energy. Amino acid, they can turn into ATP and also energy there. And the process, they become ammonia, because if they convert it into energy, the process, they have the end product will be carbon dioxide and hot water, but at the same time they also release the nitrogen compound there. These can be converted into also other source of nitrogen, but sometimes most of them are excreted out, as through their gills, through the urine, and so on. Right, and this process is termed as a protein degradation. If the protein is converted into energy. Digested amino acid can also, apart from the energy, they can be incorporated into new proteins or amino acid derivatives, like ini apa ni, ini thyroid hormones, hormones. So they can put back together they become enzyme, structure components, hormone, etc. In the body, and also has muscles. And this process is called protein synthesis. We can also make the non-essential amino acids. The animal is able to grow if the protein synthesis is greater than the degradation. So kalau degradation is too much, the fish tak grow, malah makin small and small. That's what sometimes what happens that when students do their research final year, kadang-kadang ada macam tu. Ikan lose weight is normal, but sometimes what the student did, the fish also lost the total length. Total length tak mungkin berubah, tak mungkin makin pendek. I've never seen a fish become shorter, but they become lighter, yes, kurus, slimmer, yes. So undernourished, yes. Normally the weight will become very, very low, but fish tak mungkin menjadi lebih pendek. So that's why when you do your final year project besok, perhatikan kalau ikan tu makin pendek, mesti ada salah somewhere. Masa you buat sampling, it's not good, random enough. Alright. Another thing is there is not enough energy, then the protein might also degrade. And the fish will lose weight, as I mentioned tadi. But they never lose their total length. Okay, I think dah habis tu. Protein evaluation. Macam mana kita nak evaluate the protein sources? We look at the protein digestibility. We need them to be highly digestible, and of course we need them the protein source to contain very high protein for protein utilization. These are some of the way to evaluate. We look at the digestibility of the protein. Biasa kita tengok ni, how much nitrogen in the feed, how much in the fecal, and then kita timeskan, kita cari dia punya percent digestibility of the protein. Okay. The higher the protein digestibility, the better the quality of that protein source. All right, and then also there is a bit complicated if we use a true digestibility. Formula dia dalam sikit, tak payah hafal because unless saya bagi take home exam, then you kena hafal lah, kena refer balik cara kira. Alright. So true digestibility is total nitrogen in the feed minus in the diet, and then minus the fraction yang katakan keluar dari AFN. AFN tadi apa? Saya nak sebut adalah yang keluar daripada metabolic waste. Ini the measure daripada kencing dan sebagainya. Yang fecal ni daripada najis, tapi yang ni daripada kencing dia dan juga daripada keluar daripada insang. It's not easy to do. Biasanya kita buat sampai apparent digestibility. We never proceed with the rest. Dulu kita ada Dr. Cik Ros, yes, he did that. Right. What factors affect the digestibility of protein in the fish, in the species? Some fish are more efficient. Herbivorous are the best, they're the more efficient. And then followed by the omnivorous. Carnivorous is the worst. They require very high protein at the same time. Their digestibility tak bagus because the carnivorous has, remember that I told you earlier, they have a large stomach but very short intestine. That's what the digestibility is a bit tak bagus dalam carnivorous. And then we are talking about protein source. This also depends on the protein tu juga. Digestibility dia berubah-ubah. The plant animal protein are more digestible, easily digestible compared to the plant protein. Especially for carnivorous, they are not used to the plant protein, but they can do well with the animal proteins. And then we are talking about age and size. Digestibility in the younger ones are lower compared to the adults, yeah, especially kalau larvae without the stomach, dia ada masalah. And then the temperature, digestibility is higher in the tropics compared to with the cooler climate fish, yeah. The cold species, dia punya digestibility of protein is lower. Okay, this if you look at the types of protein fish meal, the digestibility is very high, 70 to 80% kalau tengok. Soybean is quite high juga, not that bad. But blood meal tak bagus, protein dia tinggi, but the digestibility is low. This is for channel catfish, dia tak bagus. Alfalfa dah lah dia low in protein, but at the same time digestibility by the fish banyak quite low. Rice bran is not bad, yeah. What is the Malay word for rice bran? It's dedak. Dedak is the right word for rice bran. But of late, a lot of people, especially the fish farmers, they misuse the word dedak. They mean dedak is the formulated feed, which is wrong. So dedak is the rice bran, right? And baru ni ada kursus. Somebody from UPM offered kursus in dedak formulation, which is wrong. Alright, the apparent density ni kalau untuk grass carp, fish meal dia juga tinggi, soybean dia juga lebih tinggi. Kalau tengok sini, ya. Because the grass carp is the herbivorous fish, means that they can digest plant protein higher than even for fish meal, but the rest rendah juga di sini. Okay, this is another digestibility of different food with different fish. Kau tengok animal protein dia quite, kecuali blood meal dia rendah, blood meal dia rendah. A lot of people use blood meal. Dalam Islam tak boleh guna. Nanti saya cerita pasal blood meal ni. Plant protein dia slightly low. Age, kalau tengok tengok casein pun makin berumur, the digestibility is better. You can see that it's higher. Digestibility is higher at older. As you go older, the digestibility is a lot better because more enzyme in the guts. This is the temperature. You can see the difference. Digestibility is higher at higher warmer temperature. The nutritional value of protein, ini pun ada orang measure. Biasa ni panggil NPV, ya. Nanti saya tunjuk cara kira dia. NPU, sorry, net protein utilization. But some of you kita gunakan protein efficiency ratio. But this is protein efficiency ratio biasanya for the whole diet, not apa ni, ya. Dia cara kira dia, kalau you buat project in aquaculture besok, in nutrition biasanya orang tanya juga, what is the PER, what is FCR. Nanti saya cerita kemudian lah, tentang FCR. But this is how you need to know the gram weight with the gain compared to the gram protein you feed the total protein intake. The higher the PER, the better, ya, of that feed. Just jarang orang buat untuk that protein saja. Okay, NPU, this is formulation. It's a bit apa ni, ada beberapa cara. It's quite difficult nak kiranya, ya. Yang ni ataupun yang ni biasanya as apa ni retention, ya. Protein minus 2 and then divide by this. We need to know how many percent of the protein you feed converted into body. Ya. Ada juga essential amino acid index. These are also being used. You can always refer to this. Saya tak explain, ya. berapa persen yang ada dalam. Alright, any question? Cepat juga saya hari ni. Education class?
So far okay kot Prof.
Ya. Yeah.
Bagi saya okay lagi. Saya belum ada soalan lagi.
Okay. Saya end the show. Mana pula dia? Okay. Stop presenting. Okay. Alright. Hafizul ada apa nak tanya?
Hi, Encik. I have a question. I would like to know, should I add molasses on daily basis during my flax pre-maturation period without shrimps?
Hafizul yang tanya ni? Tak berapa dengar lah, suara tak berapa clear, so I tak boleh tangkap you punya soalan.
Dengar Prof. Tak, saya hari ni tak ada soalan.
Siapa yang bertanya tadi? Anyone? I can hear the voice but tak clear the soalan tadi. So probably you, sorry, I tak berapa dengar soalan tadi. Tak clear jadi pada saya. Alright. Kalau tak ada question, kita ada berapa orang? 3. Siapa yang tak datang tak boleh nampak saya. Biasa saya ada apa ni, tak keluar pula hari ni dari segi ni. So 33 orang yang dah ada pada hari ni. Alright. Kalau tak ada apa question, we can adjourn the class.
Prof, saya soalan untuk petang ni, kira nanti akan siapa handle kita?
Kita ada Encik Nafis dan juga Encik Sulaiman, nanti dia boleh handle petang ni.
Okay.
Alright. Selain daripada kita ada Encik Saleh dan Encik Firdaus.
Okay.
I think setakat nak buat apa moisture saja tak dah complicated. Kalau saya tak ada pun still okay. Saya ingat ya. But I'm not feeling well today. Dah tengah running nose dia pula. Alright. Okay. Alright. Thanks a lot. Okay, see you next week lah. Yeah. Alright. Enjoy your lab today. Okay. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Prof.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you,
Prof.
Thanks.